Do ba 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 do boo do.
Hi bikers, welcome back to the channel, and this is the third video actually in a little mini series which is in its own playlist, and it's called something like Quickshifter Problems or something like that. Anyway, it's a lovely Sunday morning. I got a lovely cup of vanilla latte and I'm going to settle down and I'm going to get stuck into fitting my new HM Quickshifter. So I'll do a bit of an unboxing actually first. So I'll show you close up which Quickshifter I've bought and what you get with that kit, explain a little bit about it, and then I'll get into actually fitting it. Now, when I did the removal of the old Quickshifter, I didn't do too much detail when I was removing it. I filmed some of it, but I didn't go into too much detail because at the time I just wanted to get the job done. But, and this intro will be short, I promise, by the way, but this time round I'm going to film as much detail as possible. So it's not a how-to because, you know, I'm not a qualified mechanic or anything like that, but it is just a detailed demonstration of how I'm going to fit my new Quickshifter, get it set up and installed, and then hopefully it won't be too long, fingers crossed, before I can get out and test it. I know, I said I wasn't going to buy one, I know, but I did. Hey, so it is what it is. Right, let's get into some unboxing first. Right, it's quite difficult to do from behind the camera, and I've cut my finger a couple of times because somebody smashed a light bulb in the house, and like a stupid idiot, I took the damaged light bulb out without actually putting gloves on. So there's a lesson for you folks. If you're going to take a smashed light bulb out of a light bulb fitting, put some bloody gloves on. Don't be a dickhead like me. Right, anyway, so let's get into it. So this is the HM Superlite Quickshifter. So it is very, very simple in its design. So basically you get some coil piggyback wires, pretty much the same as the one I took off. The one I took off was, I think, a very early version of a HM Plus. Although it didn't specifically say HM Plus on the unit, it just said HM. But all the research I did, it's basically the same as a HM Plus. And the wiring is very, very similar. So you have some piggyback wiring. So this end here will go straight to the Quickshifter. The SH apparently stands for Suzuki and Honda. So this will fit quite a few variants of Suzuki and Honda bikes. This wiring loom in particular. Obviously the Quickshifter you can get for a lot of different bikes, not just Suzuki and Honda. But this wiring loom is specific for those bikes. So you will have a wire to the Quickshifter, and then your 4 piggybacks for your coils. So that's what you get there. And there's no control module with this one this time. It is literally just a strain gauge sensor. And on there, I don't know if you can quite see, I think, yeah, there's an LED light just there. I don't know if you can quite make that out. This camera's probably not going to focus. But you can just about, let me get something to point with. You can just about see the little LED just there. So it doesn't use a separate module to set it up or anything like that. You literally just, well, you'll see anyway. You'll see when I get to the install. But that is the strain gauge. Obviously that wire connects to the wiring loom, to the coils for it, to the wiring loom for it, sorry, and this is your ground wire. So that's that, and then you get a couple of adjuster screws for your shift rod, and apparently HM don't supply a shift rod, but the provider, the supplier that I got this from, provided a free shift rod. Now I'm going to have to cut this down a little bit or use my existing one, but I think I'm going to use this new one because it's nice and new and it's shiny. But I am going to have to cut it down a little bit, so I'll talk about measuring it shortly. We'll get into measuring it and how to cut, or how I'm going to cut it, but I will have to cut that down a little bit. I think normally they supply a standard size or 1 or 2 different standard sizes, but my bike's got aftermarket rear sets, which is why I probably need a slightly shorter one or slightly longer one, depending on what the standard size was. Anyway, I'm waffling. So that's what you get in the box, folks. So let's get to actually fitting it, and like I said, I'll show you as much detail as possible. Let's go. Okay, so got the seat off, got the tank up, and all I need to do really is just get the airbox off, and then that will allow me to get to the coils so I can wire the Quickshifter up, and then I need to also measure the shift rod. So I'm going to put all the wiring in place first. I'm going to get that done, and then I'll come to measuring the shift rod a little bit later and decide what I'm going to do with that. So let's get the airbox off. I'll try and get in or zoom in as close as possible so I can film exactly what I'm doing with that. Okay, so what I need to do first actually is just get these little plastic screws out. Now these aren't standard, I've put these in because for those who don't know, there's a little hole in the frame just here. And the reason for this little hole is, as you'll see in a minute, so that you can get to the screws that hold the airbox clamps on. And then with that out, I can get a long reach Allen key through there now and get that undone. Yeah, for me it's an Allen key, but I've seen on other videos for others it's like a JIS. That won't. There we go. So I'll zoom in a second to show you what I'm doing. So just in there, this sort of silver bar there, that's part of the clamp that holds the airbox to the throttle bodies. It basically clamps the airbox rubbers, the intake rubbers on, and through that bar is a long sort of bolt with an Allen head, which comes out just under there, which you can't quite see, and that's what I'm getting at with this long reach Allen key. And for me it's a 3mm, but I've seen on other videos of people doing this that it's a JIS. I just need to move this electrical connection out of the way. So this little electrical connection, which just the rubber mount sits on this sort of blade there, and I just need to move that out of the way. It's a bit fiddly, but I'll get there. Can see the bolt now. Right, okay. Right, so just by moving that out of the way a little bit, I can now see the bolt. Cool. Let me zoom out a little bit. So all I need to do is just loosen that off. You don't need to take that right off. You just need to loosen the clamp, and then the same on the other side. Just so the airbox, the intake rubbers come loose, and then you can lift the airbox off when you get to that stage. And then the same on this side. So what I've done with these basically, I don't know if the OEM has little rubber bungs for these holes, and you don't have to cover them up. You know, you don't, these little access holes, you don't have to cover them up. But I just like to, because I don't like to see two holes at the side of the frame. But that's just me. That's just me being a bit anal, you know. Right, they're nice and loose now. So, to get the airbox off, I don't need to undo all these screws and take the lid off. I can take the airbox off in one go. But I need to remove this hose here and the hose underneath it. And then just on this side, there's an electrical connection, which I can't really get to properly until I've lifted the airbox up slightly. So I'm going to take these two off. There's another hose at the other side, which I'll show you in a second, and then a bolt at the front. And then once I've removed those, and also because I've loosened off the clamps through that little hole there already, then the airbox will lift up slightly. Then I can get to this electrical connection here and the smaller hose at the other side. So let's get this off first. Come on. Don't fight me. And you've got to be careful here as well, because your injector connections are in here as well. So you don't want to foul anything or break anything. Come on, little piggy. There we go. That's that bottom one off. This tank does come up higher, by the way, because this fairing stay, it will fit into the hole in your fork stem. But obviously I've got the quad lock fitted there, so I can't use that. But if I lifted this bar and fitted it into there, it would bring the tank a bit higher and just give you a bit better access. Of course, you could always remove the tank as well, but there's no real need really for what I need to do. Right, so in theory, the airbox should pop off. Or at least come free of the throttle bodies if those clamps are loose enough. There we go. Okay, so that's free, and I can now get to this electrical connection here. I can get to this other hose here. I won't bring you around to show you this other hose. It's just, you know, it is what it is. It's a rubber hose and it's got a clip on it, and you just need to take it off. Right, so now the airbox should come right out. A little bit of water, that's just a bit of condensation really in the airbox, which is pretty normal. It's not fuel. I did have it running for a little bit yesterday, and that's probably why there's a little bit of condensation in there. Okay, right, so let's see, let's put the camera in a better position so I can show you this bit. Right, so I've got my Bob the Builder dickhead torch on, just to give me a little bit of light in some of these tight spaces. But what I'm going to do, even though currently the strain gauge for the old Quickshifter is still connected, because if you remember when I removed the old Quickshifter, I didn't have a standard OEM size shift rod. So I had to keep the current shift rod, which is a lot shorter than an OEM, for obvious reasons, because you've got a Quickshifter attached that takes up some of the length of the rod, or the length of the whole linkage. So I had to leave that connected. So what I'm going to do is, just so I know roughly where the wiring is going to go, is I'm just going to put a loose cable tie around the new Quickshifter next to the Quickshifter that's on there at the moment, and then I'm going to feed the wiring through, and that just gives me an idea of exactly where I'm going to route the wiring. And what I'll probably do is I'll follow the bike's wiring loom as it is, so I'll follow the route of that anyway, but I just want to make sure I've got room to connect everything and to connect up the ground for the Quickshifter, etc. So let me get a cable tie and do that. So that's where the new one's going to go, obviously, and it's roughly the same size as the old one, so I could just use the old shift rod, you know. I might just do that, I don't know. The new one's nice and new though. Do you know what I mean? The new one looks new, so yeah, I might just use the new one, but I'll just use the old one as a reference for the size when I cut it down. So right, I'm just holding that in place just there. So that gives me a rough idea of where it's going to go, and then a rough idea of where to feed the wiring. You know what I mean? make sure I've got enough length on the wiring. Let me bring you back around here. Dodgy camera work. I should probably edit this and cut these little bits, shouldn't I? That would make it a little bit more sensible. Okay, I want to make sure that nothing is going to get trapped or fouled by me installing this wiring. So let me try and be a little bit methodical. I'm going to need to get back under here soon again because I've got a speedo healer to fit. Interestingly enough, one of my subscribers suggested that they had or told me that they had a similar problem that I had with, you know, similar symptoms, and they found it was the negative wire, the ground wire for their Quickshifter had broken, and then once I repaired that, everything was fine. Okay, so what I've done then is I've routed the cable sort of following the cross member of the frame, following the bike's wiring loom, and then up around there. I'm not sure how much length I'm going to have on the ground cable now though. Let's get the coils and the piggyback wires connected up. Okay, so now it's just a case of connecting up all the piggybacks. So I've unplugged all the coils. It's difficult to get them mixed up, so you can't really plug well, you can, but the way the coil wires are positioned, it's fairly obvious the way they're routed, which connector goes to which coil, so it's very difficult to get them mixed up. So let's get this orientated correctly. I know you probably can't see everything, but basically I've unplugged the coil. This end of the piggyback, you see each piggyback has got like a Y connection. This end goes into, I don't know if you can, I'm even in shot. So the piggyback has got a Y connection for each coil. The larger plug fits onto your coil, and then the smaller plug, your original coil wire, fits into this smaller plug. Hopefully you can see that, okay? So I'm going to just do that for all four. Now, it's a bit annoying because these Y connectors are quite short, so getting them all connected is a bit of a pain. Okay, so that is all the coils connected, and now I just need to figure out, I'm going to connect this temporarily because I want to see how long my ground wire is, see if I can reach the battery, because if I can't reach the battery I'm going to have to figure out a different place to ground out my Quickshifter, which is a bit of a pain. I think I've got the wiring where I want it. Okay, let's bring you around. Let's show you what I'm doing on this side. Hope this is interesting enough for you. You know, I hope it's not, I'm not boring the tits off you. So basically what I've done is I have obviously got everything connected. This is the section of the Quickshifter wire that connects to the actual Quickshifter cable, so that's the connection just tucked in there. But you've got this little ground wire which is not as long as the one on the previous Quickshifter, but I need to reach negative battery terminal. I don't want to have to ground it on anywhere else, which is possible, but I don't know, I'm not sure where a good ground would be. So I'm going to go for the negative battery terminal just to be safe. Okay, yeah, I've made a decision. That's where it's going to live, and that's where it's going to stay. So it will just about reach. I just need to make sure that when I close the tank down and everything that I don't foul it, so I can cable tie it there maybe. So I think what I'll do is I'll get a cable tie now, put that in place, and then at least the ground wire is, I know that that's in the right place. I need to go to, before I tidy up the rest of the wiring, I need to go to the shift linkage end and then sort that out, sort the rod out, and take it from there. Okay, so let's get that out of the way for now, and let's take this linkage off. Let's loosen these off first while this is in place. Right, let me, I'm going to have to get the rest of the wiring out. Bear with me. So I've tucked all the wiring basically underneath the rear seat for the time being. Okay, now we're cooking on gas. Happy days. Almost there. Almost there. Can you even still see? Am I in shot? Right, she was putting up a bit of a fight. So yeah. A little bit of corrosion in there. I better clean that up actually. Give that a bit of a clean up before I put the new one on. So let's do that and I'll be back with you in a second. Okay, so next step before I connect everything back up is to cut down the new shift rod slightly. As you can see, it's just slightly longer, but rather than take a whole chunk off the top, I'm going to shave both ends a little bit, if that makes sense. I think the thread does go all the way down, but what I don't want to do is remove too much of the thread on one end, because I'm not sure how far that thread goes down to, so I'm going to shave a little bit off both ends. So all I need to do is measure it and then cut it, hacksaw it. Right, okay, so now I can get everything fitted. Looks about right to me. What do you reckon? Don't know if that should go behind the linkage or not. I think probably yes. I think probably behind the linkage. Absolutely. So let's bring this bolt down. I think the trick here is not to put too much pressure on the gauge by over tightening it. So it needs to be secure, obviously, but not to the point where you put in loads of pressure on the gauge, because it could initiate false cuts if the gauge is under too much pressure. Right, that end seems okay. Let's take the new shift rod, and I've got another. Okay, so almost there. I forgot for a second that this was bloody reverse thread, like a dickhead. I forgot. So yeah, what a dickhead. I'm probably better off putting it on the top first, I think. Try and get it roughly the same position as it was before. Well, try and get it in exactly the same position it was before, you know. Right, okay, so everything's connected and we're good to go. So to enter setup mode, what we need to do is hold the shift lever in the up position, so pressing firmly in the up position while turning the ignition on. So I'll explain this and demonstrate it. It flashes for 4 seconds, then you let go, and then it's in setup mode. And basically every couple of seconds it will flash either once, twice or 3 times. Flash one flash represents it's in the lower sensitivity. Two flashes represents the mid sensitivity, and 3 is obviously the higher sensitivity. So I'm going to start off in 2. So let's do that. Let's apply a bit of pressure, turn the ignition on, and see what happens. Nothing. Right, so Quickshifter fitted, and I've just took it around the block and everything seems to be working fine. So I'm not sure if it's a slightly different version than the current HM Superlite because of the weird thing that I had with the setup. So yeah, as I say, like the instructions tell you that hold pressure on the lever, turn the ignition on, it flashes for 4 seconds, release it immediately, you're in setup mode, click it up to change to 1 flash, 2 flash or 3 flashes depending on the sensitivity. That didn't happen. So as soon as I turned the ignition on, it just automatically came on and flashed twice. Well, the LED came on, I guess indicating the ignition was on. It then flashed twice, indicating the second sensitivity. if it is adjustable sensitivity, if it is that version, I mean, I think it is. It is the HM Superlite. And, you know, I've checked the instructions that come. So this little card that you get with it, there's a QR code for the instructions. So I've checked the instructions, and it is, you know, as I suspect it, you know, or the instructions are as I thought it would be, but it turns out it's not quite like that on the bike. Maybe it's already set up for the bike, I don't know. But I went out and tested it, and it all seems to work fine, so all good. And it's blue, so it will make me even faster. What more do you want? And right, anyway, so that's all good. Hopefully that's been interesting for you folks. I will do a proper test ride later on in the week with due some sunshine, so I'll get it for a proper ride and do a bit of filming and see how we're getting on. But if anybody's got any questions, give us a shout. But as always, thanks for watching. If you haven't watched the previous 2 videos, go back and watch those, even if you've sat through this one, because you'll understand the problem I had and removing the old Quickshifter and so on. But yeah, stay safe, have fun.
Do ba 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 do boo do a boo ba do boo boo ba do a do ba do ba do.